Tragic passing of a supreme legend, the Gorilla Glue hair hijinks, good old-fashioned shadism, black houses on the Clubhouse experience, and Coming to America, the sequel 35 years later. Yep, all of that in my very first show. Welcome to the show where I talk about things that interest me. I love pop culture, I love movies, I love TV, I love science fiction, I love pop culture, and I also can be a bit of a controversial brother, so I like talking about stuff that goes on in the world and different opinion. Why Rite Tone? Well, it's a rite of passage. I believe I've come of age, I've turned a certain age, and I feel like I don't care anymore what people think. I'm going to share what I think. I'm going to share my views. I'm going to share what I love. Hopefully you love it too. And we're going to get into a conversation because I believe in healthy conversation, healthy debate, because we might learn something. And the tone part comes, so the right comes from a rite of passage. Tone, it's black, it's white, maybe it's somewhere in between. Sometimes the things I'll talk about will be black, as in black culture, black heritage, but also black as in it's this. Sometimes the thing I'll talk about will be more, issues that are more white related or in the interaction between black and white people, or white might just be, it's this. So sometimes it's literal black and white, sometimes it's racially somewhere in between, but my whole thing is to be tonally open-minded. So on this show, sometimes it's grey. Sometimes I mash stuff together and say, you know what, you might be on this side, you might be on that side. I might come in it from the middle and it's grey. But otherwise, you won't be bored. We'll have some fun. And without further ado, let's get into it. The thing I want to talk about is I want to celebrate a legend today. One of the best who ever did it, Mary Wilson. Rest in peace. Before there was Destiny's Child, before there was any top girl group from Spice Girls to En Vogue to any group you can name, there was the ultimate female group, the biggest female group, I'd say of all time, the Supremes. Obviously, the lead of that was Diana Ross, but one of the other stand-up members of the group was Mary Wilson. Of course, there was Florence Ballard, who passed away tragically decades ago, and in many ways, if you've ever seen the movie Dreamgirls, you could say, which is very loosely based on the Supreme story. I say loosely because they'd get sued. There was a lot of mixing and matching of truth and dramatization, but the character Effie White, played by the amazing Jennifer Hudson, who I got to interview back in 2007. She was kind of the stand-in for Florence Ballard, kicked out of the group, amazing voice, the real voice, you could say. Not to diss Diana Ross, she's a legend, but she had more of the light, airy voice, where Florence Ballard had more of the sort of more deeper soul voice, but it wasn't really, I think, suited for crossing over, apparently, according to Barry White and in Dreamgirls, the manager played by Jamie Foxx. But anyway, I'm digressing. Mary Wilson was kind of the character that was played by Nika Noni Rose, the one who was equally a strong member of the group, one of the founding members, but didn't have the drama. She wasn't the queen diva, that was Diana Ross, and she wasn't the tragic singer who was out and out of the group, that was Florence Ballard. But Mary Wilson is probably the best of the bridge of that group, in that she was probably the one that people related to. She was the home girl, and she carved a great career out for herself, continuing the Supremes, I think, after Diana left, and going solo and doing her own thing. I remember seeing her on TV in documentaries and just thinking she doesn't age. As recent as last year, I think there was a great Motown documentary that came out, or maybe it was the year before COVID anyway, where it was celebrating the history of Motown. It was pretty much focused on Berry Gordy, the amazing founder of Motown, who I also got to not interview but meet a few years ago. That was an ambition of mine since childhood, to meet the one who created all that great music. And Smokey Robinson. Together they were doing a trip down memory lane, talking about the good old days. But one of the people who was in the documentary quite a few times was Mary Wilson. Say Black Don't Crack. Seriously, black don't crack. They ain't lying. They ain't lying. They ain't lying. Black does not crack. And she looks amazing. So when I found out that she passed away a few weeks ago, I was in shock because apparently she had a tour coming up. She had a lot of projects that she was grinding on. And I just was surprised because she not only did she not look 75 or whatever age she was, but she also was healthy and strong with full of life and lots of projects coming up. So just goes to show, really, anything can happen. I want to say is, Mary Wilson, you will be missed. You were one of the bright lights of the Supremes. You really flew the flag for the legacy of not just the Supremes, but Motown. And you made being an aging black woman look graceful, look beautiful, and basically reminded us that we have to carve a way for ourselves. Own magic. She made her own path. She was a trailblazer, and I salute you, Madam Wilson. May you rest in peace. Good to look back at the classics. I think a lot of this generation, they need to maybe do a bit more research. I might sound like an old fogey, but look at the old albums, guys. You know, go into your mum, your dad, or your grandparents', cupboards. Look at the vinyl. Get them out, smell them, look at the artwork, and just put it on and just enjoy classic music. I ain't ragging on modern music. Every generation thinks their music is the best. But I wasn't even around when Motown was killing it. And I listen to that music. I think of Mary Wilson with the Supremes. I think of Stevie Wonder's stuff. And I think of Marvin Gaye, one of the best albums to ever come out of the Motown stable was What's Going On. I dare you to defy that. I dare you to push back at that. Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, they called him a musical prophet. Between him and Stevie Wonder, they took Motown to another level. Berry Gordy was like, I don't really want to get into politics. I don't really want to get into the black stuff going on in our nation, even though black people were being fire hosed and the civil rights movement was marching on and it was chaos. And I get it. He just wanted to sort of, rather than just be about talking about the struggle, he wanted to feed all the people that were under him, all the artists, the people behind the scenes, the musicians. But people like Marvin Gaye were like, you know what? We have to use our platform to give them soundtrack to what's going out on ground. We can't be witnessing all this stuff happening in our nation, all this injustice, our brothers and sisters being killed on the streets or being killed in Vietnam, and just sing doo-wop and not really comment on it. So that was a turning point, the album What's Going On, because once Marvin did it, Stevie was like, what say what, mama? I want to do my stuff. So Stevie Wonder came up, and then he started writing his own music. Jackson's piped up, the Jackson 5 saying, Michael, I want to write my songs. And Barry's like, no, that's too much. We've got Stevie, we got Marvin, and that's why the Jacksons left Motown, if you didn't know, because they wanted to write their own music. And they were seen as, you little kids, you little rascals. They were bubblegum pop, soul. They were the youngsters of the label. And I don't think Berry took them seriously. So he was like, no, you're not writing your own song. So off they went. The rest is history. The Jacksons did okay. He was a genius, but even geniuses make mistakes sometimes. I was just telling someone the other day, Simon Cowell told Jennifer Hudson she would never make it in the business. Say what now? And we all know what happened with Jennifer, man. She blew up. And I think Simon he consulted his crystal ball a little bit clearer on that day when he said that. Now, I know this story isn't new, but it stayed with me, guys. It's kind of never left me. And I waited for it to be less serious so it could be more funny. Because when I first heard of this story, I couldn't help but laugh. But then I felt bad because she still couldn't get it out of her hair. Yeah, that story. I'm talking about Tessica Brown. You know, the Gorilla Glue gel lady? Yeah, that story. I mean, when I heard it, I was... If you don't know the story, let me break it down for you. Let me break it down. Tessica, bless her, is, I think, a YouTuber on, living on social media. And she did hair stuff. So she'd slick her hair and style it, but she ran out of her gel, to firm her style, to set the hair. Black women were setting their hair. So she thought, what do I have around me? There's some Gorilla Glue. The super glue that is as strong as me gorilla, strong. Meant to be as strong as a gorilla, meaning that nothing can break its grip. Once that glue gets you in its grip, it's good night for you. You are bonded for life. A bit like the two gorillas in Trading Places. The guy, is it Mr. Beaks? He gets put into the cell with the gorilla in the gorilla costume. If you ain't seen it, Trading Places, that's an Eddie Murphy link for you. That's coming up later. But anyway, she thought, let me put this Gorilla Glue in my hair. It looks compatible with my hair. Let me try and firm it. So she lathered it up. She put the glue on her hair. And to be honest, when she did a follow-up video, it looked kind of tight. It was hard. It was shiny. It looked very, when you see someone's hair on a video or in the box, it looks perfectly gelled and slick and sleek. It looked on point. I give her that. Except for she couldn't move. She couldn't, her forehead, her head was set. It was giving her pain, the restriction on her skin. She couldn't wash it out. For all her efforts, it was firm like super glue because it was super glue. So she washed it, nothing happened. She probably tried to scrape away at it, nothing happened. So all she could do was go on social media and tell people like a PSA, which I think the world needed to know this PSA. Don't put super glue on your hair as a replacement for gel. Whew, I'm so glad I heard that. Otherwise, I might have been tempted, y'all. Might have been tempted. I ran out of home, so I might get a knife and just scrape my hair. I digress. So when I first read that story and when I first saw the video, I couldn't laugh. I was laughing, but I thought it was too bad to laugh because she really couldn't get this stuff out of her hair. It was a sticky one. Sorry, pun unintended. So people gave her tips on how they could remove their hair, put vinegar on it or put certain chemicals. Nothing was happening. I think there was even talk about suing Gorilla Glue, saying, yo, look what you've done to my hair. I look like Black Barbie. This is molded plastic. The difference is they were like saying, well, we didn't say on the bottle, this is recommended for hair. Kind of implied. Don't put it on skin. Don't put it on anything except for like wood, metal, ceramics. I don't know. Pick one. So I feel bad, but eventually a plastic surgeon, I think, came to her aid who basically paid for her to get a medical attention where they were able to dissolve the glue out of her hair, and I think with minimal damage. So I can share the story and I can laugh about it now because she's okay. But it's not right, but it's okay, to quote the late, great Whitney Houston. It ain't right, but it's okay to laugh because it was stupid, man. It was like, what the heck? Of all things to do, I run out of gel. I'm just going to go into the cupboard and get us some super glue. It's one of those things where, and then some mentally challenged dude. And why was it the black community twice? Once is one thing, but twice he thought, oh no, I'm going to prove, man. I'm going to prove that, Gorilla Glue, it ain't that strong, y'all. It's all fake, and I'm going to prove it, man. It's fake. So he put some glue on a cup. One of those red plastic cups that you put your drink in? Yeah. And he put the glue on the tip of the cup. Yeah. And he stuck it on his lip just to prove, that the glue wasn't strong, that he could his saliva is stronger than the Gorilla Glue. My guy spent all night and probably the next few days at A&E trying to get that sucker off his lip. That red cup was so glued to his lip, man. It was like grafted into his skin. It was like it was something that grew out of his lip. hey, you got a plastic cup growing out of your lip. Say what now? And to say he was proven wrong was an understatement. That stuff is strong. It's tough, for a reason. They make their money. It's their business. They know the ingredient means that it will bond things for life. So he had to get surgery to remove the cup off of his lip. You probably got a big patch of skin moving his lip. It's like, why you got your lip like that? It's a long story. Go away. So let me put this PSA finally. If your hair is a hot mess or you're doing a tutorial, don't do the video. Wait another day. Wait to go to the shops. Hey, just, don't make a video if it's that bad. If your hair is a hot mess, don't make that mess a sticky mess by putting glue on it for gel. Number one. Number two, it ain't no competition for foolishness, y'all. I'm going to prove the glue ain't good. Maybe he thought that maybe he'd get a payout if he did something dumb, and maybe Gorilla Glue would start throwing out writing checks to people who have misdemeanors with their product, which is meant for wood, metal, and ceramics people, not hair follicles and lips. Caramba. So, yeah, that was the tale of two very unwise people who they suffered so you and me don't have to. Not that we were about to raid the cupboards for DIY products, for beauty products, but just saying. Yeah, with the Rite Tone, I'm going to tell you straight. We're going to have fun. Sometimes I'll look at a subject with a bit of seriousness. Sometimes I'll be playful. I don't mean to offend, but I'm just being me. I'm over 40. I'm 40 something years old. And heck, I don't care anymore. There comes a point where if they're going to cancel, they're going to cancel you. But at least give them a good show before they unsubscribe, right? The Rite Tone, we're always going to be talking about subjects from maybe a different point of view. And maybe I might say some things that might offend you. Again, it's not my plan. I'd rather you love me, because if you love me, you'll subscribe below. But if you don't love me, still subscribe below. Because, sometimes you want to watch someone's because you hate them, right? I don't mind. Sometimes, people go to games or, basketball, say, boo, you suck. But they're paying to get in, right? And that basketball is getting a cut of the proceeds. So it's all good, basically. I'm Black British. You could probably tell by my accent. So for my American brothers and sisters, sometimes I will give you news and topics from a UK perspective, as well as often I will talk about your American stuff from a British perspective. I want to bridge the gap between black across the diaspora, from those in the United States of America, those in the UK, those in Africa, and anywhere you'll find us. But I also want to invite, my white brothers and sisters, the cousins. You can come and watch as well and, learn a little bit about the culture. The more the merrier. Come to the party. Put your feet up, enjoy the show, and listen to my stories. And let me know in the comments section what you think about some of these topics. One topic in the UK that I want to talk about, which was, again, it's not a new one, but my show, I didn't get a chance to get out in time to talk about this, was the Rochelle versus Candice saga. Rochelle Humes is a biracial singer, presenter in the UK. She used to be in a group called The Saturdays, and even before then, a group called S Club Juniors. She used to present on children's TV as well. Candice Braithwaite, she also presents a little bit on a big show here, do some features on Lorraine and This Morning. She, I believe, works in fashion. At least she does the fashion segment on TV. And she's come to prominence, particularly talking about black issues. She's a darker skinned, full black woman. And she's unfortunately had some issues with childbirth where I think she almost lost her life years ago. So she had this desire to document this issue of why in the UK so many black women are dying in childbirth or complications around that. And also why it's such a medical emergency around black women who are giving birth. So she was looking into that, and she was trying to put a documentary together, talking to the right people. And then she thought she was having a breakthrough with a channel, I believe it might have been Channel 4, getting a documentary out to present it, as well as be a producer on it. And then the talk stalled which happens in the business. And before you know it, you hear about the much fairer skinned, higher profile Rochelle having a documentary on the same subject. Of course, Candice was upset about this, and she put it out there on Instagram that implicating that she was beaten to the punch, that she was yeeted from the project by a lighter skinned woman who'd be more palatable maybe to the audience. And, you know, she's light skinned, whereas Candice is dark skinned. I don't want to open up wounds. It turns out that they were two different productions, which again happens in the industry. It wasn't the same documentary. Rochelle was involved in a different one. And end of the day, though it gave the impression that there was a shadism row at the heart of this documentary, I think they ended up, you know, patching it up. Candice coming out saying actually it was a different show after all. But, you know, some of the damage was done, to be honest, in that there was a lot of discussions, including in Clubhouse, about this whole issue of shadism, because it is a real thing. It's as real here in the UK as it is in America, and it's as old as time. You know, the old story of the master's house. Oh, you'd be in the master's house giving him kids. You'd be on the field and all that kind of thing. You know, the spectrum test of dark to light, and somewhere in the middle. All I want to say on that issue is, number one, can we move on from it, please? Can we move? Can we be united? I think the fact that we were called coloured, which we know is a politically incorrect name, but in some ways, kind of true. What is black? Who is black? I'm kind of, you know, mahogany kind of coloured. I've got family members who are as dark as the night. I have family members who are, you know, on the spectrum of yellow. But we are black people. I have Nigerian heritage, because you might say, oh, well, if it's from people from the Caribbean or some people in America, because of slavery, you know, they've got sort of dilution in the genes. My heritage has been in Nigeria. And half of my family are very light-skinned. The other half are dark-skinned. I'm one of those who strays in the middle. So what I'm saying is that black people in general, we come in all different shades. Now, the distinct difference here, Rochelle is mixed race. She's biracial. She's half black, half white. Like Obama, who was the first black president. I see the bullets. I was like, whoa, don't shoot me. So... But there's a point where I want to quote Posdnuos in De La Soul, where he said, black is black, in the song Me, Myself and I. Racists don't care whether you are mahogany, whether you're charcoal, or whether you're burnt umber in the spectrum of colour. If you're black, if you're not white, you're black. You know, you are lumped together. I think we can learn something from that, in that if we are united as a people and we get rid of all the divisive language, all the things that would divide us, the color charts, do you speak with a, you know, do you speak in slang, or you speak like you're white, you're too well spoken? If we got rid of all of that and we pulled together on some common ground, I think we could be amazing. It could be magic. Stop the beef. Let's stop the beefing. You know, we are people descended from Africa. If you're watching and you're black, let's unite together. Let's hug ourselves, to quote Monique, even though Monique actually was getting into it with Lee Daniels and Tyler Perry. So that was there weren't much unity there, as I remember. But anywho, let's be united and let's put all the shade to one side. Let's focus on what we have in common. You know, the most important thing with this was that this documentary was getting made. That the tragedy of black women needlessly losing their lives in childbirth, that hopefully this documentary, whoever makes it, it don't matter, is able to shed light on this very serious issue so that no black women need to lose their life or have their life in danger when it comes to giving birth to new life. The fact that happens baffles me. So let's rally around the cause and make sure that we get that situation dealt with in the culture rather than fight about the shade of the person making the doc. You feeling me? And speaking about beef and strife, you know, it comes to the topic of Clubhouse. Now, I love me some Clubhouse. You can find me in there getting into it with some great rooms. I'm a Brit, but I like to go into some American rooms, black American rooms. But what I find sometimes, can I be real? What I find sometimes going in those rooms in the club is I go into a room, it's all good. I may even be brought up on stage. But as soon as I open my mouth, I don't know about you, American friends, please let me know in the comments below. Do I talk funny? Am I too fast? Is my accent too English? Am I like Downton Abbey? Do I sound like the Queen? Or well, we ain't got a king. Yeah. Do I sound like that? Yeah. Do I sound like, you know, like a typical white British dude? Because I don't think I do. You know, believe it or not, there are significant numbers of black people in the UK, particularly London, and we'd sound very different from our Caucasian counterparts. But anyway, I open my mouth sometimes, and I'm not saying anything controversial, so I'm not saying I opened my mouth and I said something terrible because I'd be yeeted so fast from that room if I did. It's just that sometimes no one picks up on what I've said, and sometimes I can tell that they're thinking, who's this dude in here? Because often I've been the only Brit in the room because I love you Americans. I love my family. I've got American family. I love America. But somehow I don't think sometimes America has loved me, but I will still persevere. I will still go in the rooms and make contact, so you ain't getting rid of me. But I'm just curious in terms of, I'll go into some rooms and you'll get some rooms that are about like town hall meetings. So you've got like black town hall meetings. We'll hear the issues in Clubhouse about discrimination. Some black members of Clubhouse feel that they're not brought up on stage in predominant like white rooms, or they're not given the respect and kudos, or they're invisible, or, you know, maybe their names are mispronounced, or there's subtle microaggressions. I can't verify that or not. I'm sure it happens. I believe many of these stories. But I've also found it that when you've gone into sometimes black American rooms, if you're not American, you know, or black, you're sometimes not really engaged with. Sometimes you're not really, of course you'll be allowed to speak because no one knows where you come from until you open your mouth, unless they dig on your bio. When you do speak, sometimes the engagement is lacking, and sometimes you feel like, you know, you've intruded. So I'm like, yo, maybe in your rooms, this might not be allowed, but who knows? Say, we don't want your British ass in the group. We only want it for our people in the room. So at least if I come in, I can decide to go mosey on down to another room, you know, or at least crash the room and pretend I'm American. I'm an actor. I might put on my fake American accent and see how I do. I'm kidding, guys. Don't take this too seriously. I think the point of what I'm saying is that I think it's a good thing to exchange. We're cousins, black British people, those in Africa, Caribbean, America. We have some things that we have in common because we come from the same root. Yeah, of course we have our differences. And then, you know, not even all black people in one country are the same. You know, black Brits in England, we've got different subcultures. You guys in America, if you're in the South, Atlanta, you're going to be different to the West Coast, like in LA. You know, there's similarities, but you're not exactly the same. So I'm not going to give the false impression that, yo, we're all one, because we're different. But we also have other things in common, unfortunately. We know what it's like to struggle because of this. We have certain things in common because of our shared ancestry and heritage. So all I'm saying is let's make the club okay for all. Because just like, you know, the nightclubs back in the day, I haven't been in a very long time. That's not my thing. You're in the club and you're just trying to shake your leg and have a good time. And you got these brothers standing on the wall like, yeah, looking like they want to punch your face in. And if you accidentally step on their Nikes, you're getting jumped. We don't want that. We want the club to be a place that is free for everyone. It's inclusive and welcoming. And if you see my face in the club called House, say hello and come to some of my rooms that are coming in the future and invite me along. And, you know, how you doing? We'll make friendships. We'll we'll exchange stories, and we'll all be better off for it. You dig? Wakanda forever. Anyway, Wakanda forever! T'Challa. If Clubhouse was around when Black Panther came out, there'd be so many Wakanda rooms, it'd be crazy. You'd have the vibranium room for tech. You'd have like Shuri, all the Shuris talking about how they can sort of, be, black scientists and geniuses. You'd have people talking about the Wakanda dress code. I'm sure you'd have rooms just swooning about Michael B. Jordan. You'd have a room for the late Chadwick Boseman and how he made us all proud representing a black superhero, an African superhero at that. Man, it would have been so cool if Clubhouse was around when Black Panther came out. The rooms would have been popping. There'd have been so much fun. There would have been so much way to celebrate. I remember going to the cinema with a good friend of mine, Ammon, and we dressed up in native African wear, and so many people at the European premiere did the same. It was like fancy dress, you know what I mean? But like African royalty. It was all regal, all to celebrate this moment in cinematic history. The film was alright. It was good. I had a good time. Ryan Coogler, he smashes it. It wasn't the masterpiece or second coming of cinema that some people were saying it was. But the fact that it had black people in it, mostly not dying, looking royal, looking regal, kicking ass, and being superheroes, what was there not to love? All the stuff online with you guys in America particularly, you guys went in, man. You went into the screenings. You dressed up, you turned up, you were having watch parties, and I was envious, man. I would have loved to have been there to see some of those screenings in person, but I had a good time watching online. And Wakanda forever. That's a perfect way to dovetail into this next item, which is coming to America too. Actually, it's not coming to America too. It's inventively titled Coming to America. Whack title aside, I cannot wait to see this movie. This movie is coming out tomorrow. So UK time, this is still Thursday. Hopefully this goes up in time. Friday, Coming to America is going to be released. Coming to America. See, whenever I say it, it feels like I'm talking about the first film when I'm really talking about this sequel. Bit of background. Sexual Chocolate. Coming to America is my #1 comedy of all time. I know people say that. I don't want to be that guy when people were raving about Marvel films and Black Panther when it came out. They'd never read a comic book. They'd probably never seen a Marvel movie. It was just a thing because it was black superheroes. I get it. I'm not hating on it. I get it. But I'm not that dude. I was 9 when Coming to America came out, and I remember seeing it maybe a little bit afterwards on video, on that kind of thing. And I was already in love with Eddie Murphy. So seeing him in Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop, he was the GOAT. He still is, the Grandmaster. Some people say Dave Chappelle. I think they're like here. Coming to America, it was just so funny. The fish out of water. Eddie Murphy, I've always found funny his commentary on America as a black dude. Trading Places was a commentary on America. A black guy in a predominantly wealthy white world. Beverly Hills Cop, street cop from Detroit, being in the fancy, very white, very privileged La La Land. So you got this whole fish out of water thing, which has been part of Eddie Murphy's shtick in some of those 80 movies. Even 48 Hours, he was with Nick Nolte, a black cop with a white cop. Fish out of water kind of thing. Not cop. I think it was a cop. Anyway. Golden Child. He was with Asian people. I could go on. Coming to America was the ultimate fish out of water situation where he was an African prince. But rather than it being the joke of this stereotypical African that couldn't speak English or was sort of, ignorant, he was fly. Him and Semi, they were cool. They were rich. They were accomplished. They could take care of themselves. They were slumming it being in America rather than Africans looking at America as the land of milk and honey and the promised land. They were having to sort of go on a budget holiday to get there and live in filth, basically. Not calling Queens New York filth, but in the film they pretty much did. I fell in love with Lisa. I had the biggest crush on her. True story, my wife and I, awkward, we were in Atlanta in 2005. We were at the TD Jakes conference and we were staying at the Hilton Hotel. The Regency, Hyatt Regency Hotel. And they had the National Black Journalists Convention, which had certain panel speakers and celebs. And Jesse Jackson was there. And one time we're walking around a corner and we see the actress herself who plays Lisa McDowell. She didn't look a day older. This was 2005. And even today, in pictures I've seen of this new movie, she don't look older. But anyway. And I said to her, I made a big mistake. I went over and said, hey, pleased to meet you. Oh, I love coming to America. I used to watch it all the time when I was a child. At that point, I was like in my mid-20s and she looked like, child, did you just make me feel old? And I was like, I put my foot in it, but she was gracious and she was like, thank you. And, and I went off thinking, why did I just have to put that when I was a child thing on the end? But anyway, she was stunning then and she's a stunning woman. Loved Patrice, her sister. Why does she always get the good ones? Soul Glow, Eric LaSalle, as with a Jerry Curl in that movie, the barbershop. It's a cliche even to mention the characters, aha, aha. And my guy, I'm going to butcher the jokes, but what's his name? Is it Clarence the barber? He's like, yeah, man, walking down the street, feeling good. Someone knocked me down, and on top, it's like Martin Luther King. Say, sorry, I thought you somebody else. I'm like, no, you're lying. You ain't never met Martin Luther King. It was just, if you've never seen Coming to America, don't be put off by these whack impressions. Download the movie and watch the first one before this new one. You'll have the time of your life. But for me, when you saw stuff on TV about Africans, it was either Roots or charity shows, Give to the Ethiopian Crisis and stuff like that. So the idea of these regal Africans, I know they weren't real, the same way that Wakanda isn't real. But these Zamundas coming to town with my man, King Jaffe Joffa, James Earl Jones. By the way, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so the voice of Darth Vader. Him walking in with his lion skin on his side of his shoulder, rose petals on the ground. I'm coming for my son, Nakeem. It was just like you're seeing these powerful black depictions on screen, juxtaposed with street jive, Randy Watson, sexual chocolate, the preacher, I love the Lord, yeah. All these characters, you had the culture, black American culture met sort of African culture, and that was the joke, and it was lovely. No one was being derived too much. It was a celebration of the cultures, and it was just funny. It's funny to this day. So I've always felt there could be a legitimate sequel to Coming to America. I thought, hey, Lisa and Akeem could have kids, and maybe they want to come back to America to find out what all the fuss was about. Mom, how did you meet Dad? What was your hometown like? We're living in this opulent Zamunda. What was like New York like? And different characters, maybe there was a reversal somehow. And all the time, I remember seeing interviews with Eddie Murphy over the years, and people would suggest, well, what about Coming to America sequel? And he's like, nah, I don't think so. And then I remember one of my other funny comedies of all time was Dumb and Dumber. Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. That is hilarious. Different type of humor. That's more stupid humor, hence the title Dumb and Dumber. Where Coming to America is clever. John Landis, some of the greatest comedy films of all time. He directed the original Coming to America with the famous looks to camera and Eddie Murphy kills it. Those looks to camera like say what now? You think I'm an idiot. A famous one in Trading Places when the Duke brothers are trying to explain trading to him. And he talks about bacon for your BLT sandwich. And Eddie Murphy's like, it's just classic. But anyway, loved his movies. Dumb and Dumber was more stupid. But I was always thinking I would so love to see those characters together of Harry and Lloyd. They were so funny, so heartwarming idiots. And there was rumours and rumblings that there would be a sequel. Most comedy sequels tend to suck. Zoolander 2 wasn't awful, but wasn't really that good. Anchorman 2 actually was decent. Was funny, but wasn't really quite up to the standards of Anchorman 1. Eventually, after 20 years, and I think that was a record of comedy sequel, the gap between the first film and the second one, Dumb and Dumber 2 came out. And it was alright. It was funny, I laughed, but there was something about the characters that the actors had gotten quite old. So for them acting like children, back in the original one in 1994, it was stretching. I mean, it was funny. The idea that these adult men acting like 5-year-olds was funny. Now Jim Carrey's got some like wrinkles kind of around the eyes and don't look so young. And Jeff Daniels already was older looking even back in the day. So seeing them acting like 2-year-olds, and also some of the humor got a bit mean-spirited. Like, this is a bit of a spoiler. Harry, played by Jeff Daniels, it turns out he was adopted by a Chinese couple. And he goes to see them, and they start speaking to him in Mandarin or whatever it was. And Lloyd, played by Jim Carrey, just starts laughing, saying, "What are you talking about? What are you saying? These words." He's just taking the mickey out of them speaking Chinese. And I was like, oh, a bit awkward. And I'm not a snowflake. I'm not someone who's saying, "That's racist." Maybe, but I wasn't saying it. It was just a bit like some of the humor seemed a bit mean-spirited. But I found it funny. I laughed. But it just wasn't... It didn't do very well in the box office. Most people forgot about the movie. And it kind of just simmered away. Eddie Murphy decided, I'm not touching Coming to America. I want the goodwill to last as long as possible. I would have understood. Even though deep down, secretly, I was aching for the sequel to one of the greatest comedies of all time. My prayers were answered, folks, as you know. Coming to America comes out on Amazon Prime on the 5th of March, which from this day is tomorrow. Hopefully I'll get this video out in time. Otherwise, this will be like a Back to the Future scenario. My only upset is the cinemas are closed. This would have been, hear me out, this would have probably been like a Wakanda Black Panther scenario, where we would have showed up with our dashikis, our African cloth, our crowns. It would have been like a fancy dress affair. Or some people might have dressed up in McDowell's uniforms. Either way, equally cool. I feel cheated. There's many things that I feel cheated about, and I'm sure you do about COVID, but for this I feel cheated that we couldn't be in a cinema hearing people laugh hysterically to this movie. I believe this movie deserved to be seen on the big screen with an audience of people laughing, because I would have loved to have gotten that. I would have loved to have experienced it. I was too young to have seen the first Coming to America in the cinema. So I missed out then, and I miss out again. Nevertheless, small consolation, at least the movie's coming out. Maybe we can do some watch parties, who knows? But hopefully, as more people get the chance to see this movie in the comfort of their home, there's no excuses, than if it had come out in the cinema last Christmas. Christmas as well, man. That would have been the ultimate Christmas movie to have seen it. Anyway, well. It is what it is. The trailer came out, trailer 1. I was like, hoo. Again, I know it's not a PG-13 or a U movie, the original, but my kids have seen Coming to America. My wife, we just sort of cover their ears at the swear parts, or just say, sorry about that word, but just keep on watching. I watched the first trailer, and I gotta be honest, I was worried. You know, it felt, not because it was awful, but because it didn't come across like there was any story, or it was just like, here's this person again, here's the barbershop, here's this character. and the choice of music was a bit too bombastic. And I'm thinking, Coming to America, though it was a comedy, it also was a real movie. It had a storyline, it had plot, it had drama, it had some pathos. It wasn't just a comedy gag. Most comedies now are just sort of pure old fart jokes or just outrageous scenes with very little story thread together. Coming to America was an urban fairy tale. And I was worried that you wouldn't really have that story side to it. It'd feel more like just sort of an SNL sketch, but obviously one of the greatest SNL alumni of all time, Eddie Murphy. So I watched it and I was like, I don't know. They look good. Eddie and Arsenio, Akeem and Semi, they still look good. Lisa, she looks good. James L. Journier's in there. He's knocking on, but looking good. So I was like, yo, everyone's back, but I don't get a gauge of whether this is going to be good or not. For me, because so much was riding on this movie, I didn't think they should have treated it like a regular movie, a little teaser. I think they needed to lead with something that says, don't worry, we ain't messed this up. Every time Eddie Murphy tells the story, every time people bump into him when they knew this movie was greenlit, they're like, don't mess this up, yo. Well, stronger word, but I don't like swearing on the channel or even off the channel. Same with Arsenio Hall. Everyone would come up to him saying, don't mess this up. So I can't imagine the pressure. You're like making a sequel to one of the funniest comedies of all time. And you're the same people. So if you mess this up, you're sort of letting your old self down in the process. You know what I'm saying? So I was worried. But then the second trailer came out and it was exactly what I wanted the first trailer to be. You got a sense of the story. Leslie Jones was funny in it. Hey, Queen. You got a sense of the tone of the movie, that it felt quite like it was faithful to the original, the first Coming to America. And it was great to see the family, the royal family of Zamunda, the fact that Akeem and Lisa have 3 daughters, one of them played by Eddie Murphy's real daughter, mind. And that there was going to be some pathos. Wesley Snipes as a villain. I hadn't seen Dolomite Is My Name. I know I'm giving you my black card back. I apologize. But I knew it was good from what I heard. And I intended to watch it before I saw this movie because it's the same director, Craig Brewer. And I can happily report I have seen Dolomite Is My Name and it is fantastic. It was very blue in places, but, Rudy was in real life. The real story of the comedian who played Dolomite, he was R-rated material. So you couldn't really make it PG-13. You couldn't hide away from it. And because it's a true story, though I don't sometimes like too much profanity, too much, sexual kind of content or stuff implied. Generally speaking, it didn't linger on it too long. And it was a real story, so I could kind of overlook those sides. Bit awkward watching it with my 15-year-old daughter in places. It was like, cover your eyes, close your eyes at this bit. And I would normally, but I felt the story was one where it was someone being a creative, fighting against the odds, people telling him no, and him pushing through. So I felt the message was strong, and I really wanted to check out the director's work. So I really like it. I dug it, which was a relief. Whew. Because if it sucked, I wouldn't have been too sure. I wouldn't have gone into Coming to America, feeling too confident. But it was good. And Wesley Snipes stole the show. I know that's old news. I thought he was hilarious. So I'm looking forward to seeing him as the villain, General Izzy, in this movie. And it's interesting because these days people will say stuff like, why is there a white director directing this film, black movie? Why couldn't they give it someone like Ryan Coogler? And I'm like, well, the original film was directed by John Landis, and he's Jewish. And he can't really say that movie is one of your top movies of all time, black comedy, but then have an issue the fact that the director of the sequel is white when that guy was white. Do you know what I mean? Craig Brewer, I think, has made every movie he's made, I think, has been a predominantly black cast. So he's very much in the culture. I think he has his black pass. Cringe. But he gets it. He gets the culture, and he's a student of John Landis, and Coming to America was one of his favorite movies of all time. So, you know, let's watch the movie first. If he messed it up, then go find him. We will find you. We have a certain set of skills. But give him the benefit of the doubt, and so far, the buzz is good. I can't wait. I cannot wait to go back to Queens. She's your queen to be. I can't wait to go back to Zamunda. And by the trailer, it looks like he brings some of the Queens natives to Zamunda. So you got that, not just the son. I still think it's Semi's child. I just find it difficult to think that Akeem would and Leslie Jones, bless her, they did the bad thing and got a child. I think it would not surprise me in the slightest if it turned out to be Semi's child, because he was pretending to be the prince most of the time, right? Remember Lisa's sister? So hopefully, well, I'll find out either way. It's not the most original idea I've had. So I cannot wait. I'm going to come back with a review of this movie, and hopefully we can all celebrate and have a new tradition of maybe they'll release it in the cinema after the pandemic and we can all dress up. You know what? Maybe a new movie, Wakanda meets Zamunda. So maybe a crossover of the Black Panther universe and the Coming to America universe. Maybe they were neighbors, you know, like the secret, they were annexed to each other. You know how like Ghana and Nigeria are next to each other? Maybe Zamunda and Wakanda are sort of next door. They didn't know. You know, Akeem powers up to have some special suit. I'm clowning y'all. Wait, that has been fun. I hope you've enjoyed this first episode of The Rite Tone. I've been Anthony Aris-Osula. I'm an actor. I'm a writer, author of the book Coconut Prince that comes out this summer by hook or by crook. And, you know, I used to have a radio show. I've interviewed everyone from Jennifer Hudson to the Marlon Jackson of the Jackson 5, Cuba Gooding Jr. I was in a big commercial for Amazon that came out last Christmas. I was the dad of the ballerina in The Show Must Go On. And in the UK, me and my family, the Aris-Osulas, we were the stars of a huge Tesco commercial in the summer for Tesco Mobile. So I get around, but enough about what I'm doing. What are you doing? What is going on with you? Let me know in the comments below. Did you enjoy this video? Any ideas of topics that you'd want me to talk about? Let's get into a conversation. Thank you for watching The Rite Tone. I hope you had some fun. If not, I hope you'll come again and see if you have fun next time. In the interim, like, comment and subscribe. Let me know. Let's get into a conversation in the comment sections. I will reply, and press that notification bell for more stuff like this. That's if you liked it. Also, you can see me in Clubhouse, Anthony Aris-Osula. Come look for me when I open a room and we can get into it, maybe break down some of the topics that I've put in the video and have some fun. I look forward to seeing you in the club and on here. Subscribe below. See you next time.